I did it because I wanted to hurt him. Plain and simple. I wanted him to feel the kind of gut twist I'd been carrying for months, maybe years. The kind that makes you stare at the ceiling at 3 a. Wondering how you ended up here. My name's Kendra. I'm 32, and I don't regret it, not the act. Anyway, just how it all blew up in my face. It started with Garrett. Not the most exciting guy, but he was mine. You know, we'd been married 5 years, together 7, and somewhere along the way, he stopped looking at me like I was the only woman in the room. He'd come home from work, barely grunt a hello, and sink into the couch with his phone. I'd be talking about my day, about something funny, about anything, and he'd just nod, eyes glued to some stupid sports app. I'd ask him to pick up groceries, and he'd forget. I'd plan a date night, and he'd show up late, smelling like the office coffee machine. It wasn't one big thing, it was 1,000 little ones, piling up until I couldn't breathe under them. I tried, I really did. I'd cook his favorite meals, wear that dress he used to love, suggest we take a weekend trip to reconnect, but he'd just shrug, say he was tired, or worse, act like I was nagging him for wanting more. Kendra, can you just relax? He'd say, like I was the problem for wanting my husband to give a damn. So yeah, I got mad. I got petty. And when I met Nate at that bar downtown, I didn't stop myself. Nate was one of those guys who looks at you like he's starving, and you're the only thing on the menu. We were at this crowded place, all dim lights and overpriced drinks, and I was there with some girlfriends after work. Garrett was working late again, probably just scrolling through stats on his phone in the parking lot. I was sipping a vodka soda, laughing too loud to cover how pissed I was, when Nate slid into the conversation. He was charming, not in a sleazy way, but like he actually saw me. He asked questions, leaned in, laughed at my jokes. His eyes didn't wander to his phone or the TV behind the bar. It felt good. Dangerous good. I didn't plan to sleep with him. Not at first. But we kept talking, and he kept looking, and when he asked for my number, I gave it to him. Why not? Garrett hadn't noticed me in months. What was one little text thread? But texts turned into late-night calls, then coffee meetups, then a hotel room one Tuesday afternoon when I said I was at the gym. Nate was married too, which made it easier. No strings, no expectations. Just two people taking what they weren't getting at home. And every time I was with him, it was like a middle finger to Garrett's indifference. I'd think, see, someone wants me. Someone notices. It went on for 3 months. I got good at lying better than I thought I could be. I'd leave my phone face down, delete messages right after reading them. Keep my stories straight. Garrett never suspected a thing. He was too busy with his own world, too checked out to notice the way I'd started dressing up more. The way I'd come home a little too flushed, a little too quick to jump in the shower. I'd look at him sometimes, sprawled on the couch, and think, you did this. You pushed me here. And it felt right. It felt like justice. But Nate's wife, Lauren, she wasn't as clueless as Garrett. I don't know how she found me. Maybe she saw a text pop up on his phone. Maybe she followed him one day. Maybe she just had that gut instinct I'd lost years ago. All I know is one day, my Instagram DMs lit up with a message from some random account. No profile pic. No followers. You're not as clever as you think, it said, with a screenshot of a text I'd sent Nate something flirty. Stupid. Unmistakable. My stomach dropped. But I told myself it was nothing. Just a bluff. I blocked the account and kept going. Then it got worse. I was at work, in the middle of a boring shift, when my coworker Jenna pulled me aside. Kendra, you need to see this, she said, her voice all hushed and serious, like we were in some daytime drama. She showed me her phone, and there it was, a group chat with half the office, screenshots of my texts with Nate, my face from my Instagram, even a grainy photo of us together at a coffee shop I thought was safe. The burner account had sent it all, with a message. Thought you should know what Kendra's been up to. Ask her about Nate. My heart was pounding so hard I thought I'd puke. I laughed it off. Told Jenna it was some jealous ex trying to stir crap. But I could see it in her eyes. She didn't buy it. Nobody did. I went home that night, hands shaking as I unlocked the door. Garrett was in the kitchen, eating leftovers straight from the container like some caveman. I waited for him to say something, to confront me. But he just looked up and said, "You okay? You look weird." I mumbled something about a bad day and locked myself in the bathroom, scrolling through my phone, trying to figure out how bad this was. The burner account had posted the screenshots on a local gossip page too, tagging my workplace. People were commenting, strangers, coworkers, even a couple of my cousins. Homewrecker, pathetic, hope her husband leaves her. I wanted to scream, to throw my phone at the wall, but I just sat there, numb, telling myself I could fix this. I didn't sleep that night, kept checking my phone, waiting for the next bomb to drop. By morning, Garrett was acting normal, which made it worse. I wanted him to notice, to care, to fight for once, but he just kissed my forehead, said he'd be late again, and left. I went to work, and it was like walking into a firing squad. People whispered when I passed, avoided my eyes. My boss called me into her office, said the optics weren't great, suggested I take a few days off. I nodded, kept my chin up, but inside I was screaming, this isn't my fault. Lauren did this? She's the one who made it public. She's the one who couldn't let it go. I tried to reach Nate, but he'd blocked me everywhere. Typical, spineless. I bet he was groveling to Lauren, promising to be a good boy now. I pictured her smug face, probably loving every second of my downfall. I wasn't about to let her win, though. I made my own burner account, posted about how Nate pursued me, how he lied about his marriage being basically over. I didn't mention Garrett, didn't want to drag him into it, not because I cared, but because I wasn't ready for that fight. The post got some traction, a few "you go girl" comments, but mostly people just called me desperate. I deleted it after an hour. Days turned into weeks, and it didn't get better. My coworkers treated me like I had some contagious disease. Friends stopped inviting me out, saying they were busy or just ghosting me altogether. My sister, of all people, texted me a lecture about choices and consequences, like she's some saint. I blocked her. I didn't need that noise. The worst part was the silence at home. Garrett still didn't know, or if he did. He wasn't saying. I kept waiting for the shoe to drop, for him to find out, but he just kept going through the motions, like we were still some happy couple. It made me hate him more. How could he be so oblivious? How could he not care enough to notice? Then it happened. I came home one evening, and Garrett was sitting at the kitchen table, my phone in his hand. Not his phone, mine. I'd left it on the counter, forgot to lock it, and there it was. Open to a text from Nate I hadn't deleted. A stupid one, from weeks ago, about how he couldn't stop thinking about me. Garrett's face wasn't angry, wasn't sad, just empty. Like he'd finally seen me for what I was and didn't even care enough to fight about it. How long? He asked, voice flat. I tried to play it off, said it was nothing, just a fling. That Nate meant nothing, but he just kept staring. Like he was looking through me. You did this because you were mad at me, he said, not a question. And yeah, he was right, but I wasn't about to admit it. I turned it around. Said he pushed me to it, that he was never there. Never cared. He didn't argue, didn't yell, just got up, grabbed his keys, and left. Not a word about where he was going. I stood there, heart racing, telling myself he'd be back, that he always came back. But deep down, I knew. The next day, I got a call from HR. The burner account Lauren, I'm sure, had sent more screenshots, this time to corporate, private texts, ones I thought were gone, about how I'd bragged about getting away with it. They fired me on the spot, said it was a reputation risk. I tried to argue, said it was a personal matter, but they didn't care. I walked out with a box of my stuff, everyone staring, whispering. I wanted to scream at them, tell them they didn't know the whole story, but what was the point? They'd already made up their minds. Garrett didn't come home that night, or the next. I texted him, called him, left voicemails saying we could work it out, that I'd do better. Nothing. A week later, I got divorce papers in the mail. No note, no explanation, just his signature. Cold and final. I tore them up, threw them in the trash, told myself he'd come crawling back when he realized what he was losing. But he didn't. I heard through a mutual friend he'd moved to Chicago, started over, got a new job, a new place, even a new girlfriend. Someone quiet, sweet, the kind of woman who doesn't need to prove anything. I saw a picture of them online, him smiling in a way he never did with me. It stung, but I told myself I didn't care. He didn't deserve me anyway. The worst part wasn't losing him, it was the aftermath. My life unraveled like a cheap sweater. No job, no friends, no family who'd talk to me. I had to move into a crummy apartment, the kind with thin walls and neighbors who blast music at 2 a.m. I'd scroll through Instagram, see people I used to know living their perfect lives, vacations, promotions, engagements, and I'd feel this hot, ugly thing in my chest. Not guilt, not really. Just anger. At Garrett, for not fighting for me. At Lauren, for ruining everything. At Nate, for being a coward. At everyone who judged me without knowing the whole story. I keep waiting for things to turn around, for people to realize they got it wrong. But they don't. They move on. And I'm stuck here, in this tiny apartment, with nothing but my phone and a bottle of wine for company. I tell myself I'm fine, that I don't need them. But sometimes, late at night, I'll see a notification pop up, a comment, something stupid, and for a second, I think it's Garrett or Nate or someone who cares. It never is. And I'm left staring at the screen, wondering how it all went so wrong and why nobody's on my side.